Danielle and Kayleigh, welcome to Lexi's Lounge. What are you guys drinking today?
I'm drinking some organic matcha and some very expensive macadamia milk. That's delicious.
I'm drinking my hydration drink. So I'm drinking Element, and I just finished my little hydrogen tablet cocktail, mocktail. I didn't, obviously not alcohol first thing in the morning, my hydrogen tablet mocktail first thing, and then Element for hydration.
What is Element? Is that like a type of water?
It's spelled LMNT, and it's a powder drink that you put in your water, and it's just sodium, potassium, magnesium. So you wake up severely dehydrated. So it's really, really good to hydrate before, and your body is really depleted of sodium, magnesium, and potassium first thing in the morning. So it actually gets your energy up with no caffeine.
Oh my gosh. Well, that makes sense why my pee is like not pretty when I first wake up.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If you're ever really, I mean, you live in Washington. So is it pretty dry and cold right now? Or
Yeah.
what is it like? Yeah. So it's really important. When I'm in dry, cold climates, I'll have an Element before bed too.
Really?
So you're really yeah, enough that you're not going to wake up and go to the bathroom in the middle of the night. So you can do it like an hour or so before, but enough that you're like really hydrated before going to bed.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. And is matcha, Danielle, a good alternative to coffee?
Yes.
What are the benefits of matcha over coffee?
Well, matcha being so you want to make sure it's organic, as with most things, but really important for tea because essentially they're not cleaning it first usually. So if it's sprayed with pesticides, it's just going right into your liquid. Matcha has L-theanine, it has polyphenols. The fact that it's green naturally means it has some other like polyphenols, like antioxidants and things, but it doesn't give you the spike that coffee does and the subsequent crash. And if you're prone to anxiety at all, you really want to avoid that. I just feel like it's just a healthier thing to drink and I enjoy it.
Well, damn, I should get some matcha in my lineup because I heard, well, is this true? Well, I'm sure we'll get into this, but because you said pesticides, so are all fruits and vegetables that aren't organic, are they sprayed with pesticides and then organic fruits and vegetables are not sprayed with pesticides?
So what we like to operate off of is the dirty dozen. So there's ones that you should really, really focus on buying organic. The other ones with hard shells, like avocados, cantaloupe, bananas, where there's a huge protective one, you don't have to worry about organic as much because things won't be able to penetrate it. But ones that are really exposed on the outside and you're eating the outside of the fruit or vegetable, those ones are really important to buy organic to make sure
like
you're not
berries,
eating those pesticides.
Yeah, berries and lettuce, those all need to be organic.
Okay, well, now I know. I'm gonna show my husband this recording and be like, listen, the queen said we have to do this, so we have to
You
buy
know,
organic.
you get better nutrition too, usually with organic versus the inorganic one. So yeah, and like local is best too. I mean, getting your veggies from the farmer's market, it's always good. You just try to get as close to the source as possible versus it being like tomatoes pre-picked from South America and shipped over here. And it's just like you want to just go as close to the source and as seasonal as possible.
Gotcha. Gotcha. That's why some berries taste so much better at certain times of the year, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, this time of year, you're eating more squashes, sweet potatoes, asparagus, spinach. You're not craving as much berries and more summer vegetables and fruits as well. And then you just taste better seasonally because that's when they're meant to be grown.
That makes so much sense. Okay, I'm gonna have to implement that, but I'm gonna need like a pie chart or something, like with a list that shows me like, okay, this season, this is what you should be eating. I'm such a visual person.
No, they honestly, if you just Google like seasonal vegetable infographic or go on Pinterest, like seasonal vegetables, it'll have a perfect infographic. You can just save on your phone. So when you're shopping, you know what you're eating in season.
Okay, that's easy. That's smart. Okay.
So easy.
No extra legwork. Someone already did that.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, I know we dove right into the nutrition aspect, but for the people who are like, okay, Kayleigh and Danielle, they have such great information already, but I don't know who they are or what they do. Can you give us a little background on each of you?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Danielle, the acne guru. I started San Diego Acne Clinic about 8 years ago, which is here in La Jolla, San Diego, as the name would suggest. And then I co-founded ClearStem Skincare with my wonderful business partner, Kayleigh, because we met as she was a clinic patient. And we met like almost 6 years ago, but ClearStem really like started just kind of as a concept and then as a hobby. And then we really poured our all into it and made it a real brand about 4 years ago. So people are just now starting to really hear about it because it takes some time. But how we got into it is we both struggled with cystic acne. Mine was really, really bad for like well over 10, 12 years. I did Accutane over three times and had to stop prematurely on the third one because the side effects were getting so gnarly. And I've been on antibiotics for years, spironolactone for years, did every prescription you can think of and everything in between. So that's how I got started into treating acne.
Gotcha. That sounds like such a great, like, it sounds like the story that so many people have with acne. Like this, they've been on all these drugs, antibiotics, all this other stuff. So it's very interesting to hear that you're like, okay, I'm going to run with this. I'm going to learn all I can about it and then start treating people for it and then create a brand around it. That's awesome. Kayleigh, what about you?
Yeah. So like Danielle mentioned, I met her when I was a clinic patient. So prior to that, I had struggled with acne on and off growing up, but it was more the typical acne. And I, went to the dermatologist, got the harsh creams, went away, came back, but it wasn't anything really aggressive until I was 24. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, my skin just completely erupted, bright red cystic acne absolutely everywhere. And I was going to every doctor, dermatologist, esthetician I could possibly find. The doctors wouldn't listen. They were just like, you have to go on birth control or you have to go on antibiotics. That's the only thing that'll fix it. And at this time, I had actually gone back to school for holistic nutrition because it had always been a huge passion of mine my entire life. And so I learned a lot more about root causes. And I was like, okay, you're telling me to go back on birth control. You're telling me to go on antibiotics, but why? How is this going to help me? And they're like, I don't know, just try it. And it didn't sit right with me anymore after all the additional schooling I'd gone through. I'm like, but I know what these things, like, it just doesn't make sense. This doesn't fix acne, doesn't fix the root cause. And then when I went to dermatologists, they wanted to prescribe me harsh creams and Accutane. I'm like, okay, I understand you want me to go on Accutane, but what, like, something is wrong with my body. Like, what is causing this? They're like, oh, I don't know, but Accutane's the only way to fix it. I'm like, is it anything I'm eating? Is it, they're like, no, just, you have to take this prescription medication. That didn't sit right with me either. I went to so many different estheticians and I felt like I was just being sold on the product that was in their clinic. And that's all. But no, like, it just kept getting worse and more aggressive. And one last Google search, up popped San Diego Acne Clinic. And at this time, mind you, I was trying everything on my own too, like all my own research on top of what all the doctors were telling me. And I was going like the cleanest of clean of just trying like just oil cleansing to like really harsh clean products. I was trying like $300 serums, like you name it. If it was telling me it would help my acne, I was trying it. And so the one last Google search popped San Diego Acne Clinic and I met Danielle and I was so lucky to be her last patient of the day because we talked for 3 hours that evening. We talked for like an hour and a half, 2 hours before she even touched my face. And my whole world was opened up into all these acne nuances that no one ever talks about. Doctors don't talk about. They weren't even talking about at the time in the naturopathic space at all, because there are some really healthy things in excess that can trigger acne. And so we found out that I had about 12 different acne triggers going on, from over supplementation to using poor clocking ingredients. Removed them all, got on the simplest of protocols, 4 products, which has led to the development of ClearStem. And my skin was completely clear with no scar damage in a matter of 2 months.
Whoa, that's crazy. I feel like that's the goal, right?
Yeah. I'm very
that.
diligent too. So I was like, all right, this is causing acne, remove. Like, there was no gray area for me. I was like, oh, but I love dairy. No, if it was causing my acne, it was out during that time until I got things balanced.
So so you said there are acne nuances that Danielle opened your eyes to. What are some more of those nuances that people should kind of put their red flags up for?
Some of the biggest ones that I want to like kick it off with first, because there's a lot of dietary ones, and I definitely want to touch on that, but I feel like the ones that are never talked about, especially even in the naturopathic space to the primary care doctor space, from the dermatologist and everything in between, is over supplementation of certain supplements. And I'll let Danielle kick off what those ones are, but I feel like that's the biggest one, because we're told like we need to supplement, we're also depleted in everything, but more is not necessarily better. And there is a healthy limit of supplementation, but when you're over supplementing, it can actually cause hormonal imbalances that lead to hormonal acne.
Yeah, there are certain vitamins that you can take as much as you want and it really won't have a backlash. Like vitamin C, you can take a ton of vitamin C, that it really doesn't matter. And then there's other ones that, they're water soluble and don't really have a hormonal impact. And then there's ones that are fat soluble, so they store up in your system and they can act on hormones. Your hormones are, think of it like a 400-piece symphony, right? So when you do something to your body, it's going to affect one of the musicians in that orchestra, right? And then there's certain vitamins that just really impact it. And those are vitamin B12, zinc, biotin, and vitamin D. Now, these are all really important vitamins, but when you take them in supplement form, you're getting astronomical doses that you may or may not be metabolizing well from the get-go, and or it just might be too much, especially in one shot. Because normally, like B12, for example, you get it from meat products most commonly, right? So you're eating meat, it takes a while to digest. You're only eating a certain amount of it a day, and it's a slow breakdown, a slow trickle of that vitamin into your system. Well, if you're taking a vitamin B12 or B complex, you could be getting 20,000 to 80,000% of your recommended daily allowance. And it's in one straight shot and it's water soluble. So it just kind of implodes in your system, right? So for some people that aren't acne prone, it can be great. For other people that are acne prone, it can create a ton of acne because of the hormonal surge that it can create. Vitamin D is another one, and this is the most controversial one. And we want to reiterate to people listening that this is all in excess. Excess is the key word here, right? I mean, even too much, you can drink too much water and die too. You know what I mean? It's just like excess is the key word. So people that are vitamin D deficient, which is, a lot of the population really, but people that start taking it in supplement form, and then it's usually also in their multivitamin, and it could be, they're getting like some potent, liquid form, and they're taking way too much for way too long. They might not be metabolizing all of it. And vitamin D is fat soluble, so it stores up in your system. And the excess can trigger testosterone. In fact, when men get older and they start getting low testosterone, one of the first things they get recommended is a high dose vitamin D regimen. So that relationship between vitamin D and testosterone is well known. And testosterone obviously is a very important hormone as well, but a surge can and usually does create hormonal acne if you're prone to acne. So that's why we like to educate people on the dosages they're taking and to be mindful about their supplements.
Yeah, that makes so much sense. Just everything in moderation, right? It's like that golden rule that you have to just keep living by. You can't have too much sugar, too much carbs, too much vitamin D, B12, zinc, biotin. What makes somebody acne prone?
It's genetic. The most common way to look at it is there's a genetic trait called retention hyperkeratosis. Basically, more keratosis is the keratin production process that your skin naturally has. Retention means it gets stuck in your pores. So basically, like someone like me, I produce like up to 5 or 6 times more keratin protein than my neighbor who just never breaks out, even though she doesn't wash her face, right? Some people just don't break out and some people just do no matter what. So it runs in families for sure. Basically, if you have that gene and that genetic predisposition, anything that inflames your body will show up as acne. It's kind of like if you're prone to eczema or you're prone to psoriasis or you're prone to IBS or anything like that. If we have something that we're genetically prone to and we get inflamed, it's going to show up in that area. So that's essentially what acne is. And in Western countries, the diet that we have here is just horribly inflammatory. So that's why acne is such an epidemic, and like 90% of people struggle with it at some point.
That makes so much sense though. Like, it's crazy how many times I've gone to the dermatologist and they're like, you just need to get on Accutane. And there's always been something inside me that's like, I don't want to. I did when I was younger, and I literally tried to not be here anymore, which is one of those side effects. And so now every time I post something on social media, I get comments every video that's like, you need Accutane. It's the only thing that's going to work.
It's interesting because we get the same comments like on our social too, and we're promoting getting to the holistic root causes, and there'll be a lot of people pushing for Accutane, and it's really sad because it's not something that should be pushed for everyone. And just like you said, there are some really gnarly side effects, and if someone is like already predisposed to certain conditions, Accutane can exacerbate it, can cause severe depressive thoughts, and you know, there's been a lot of negative side effects. And so it does make me really sad to see on social media that people are like really pushing, and they get really angry sometimes when you try to talk about root causes. And it's sad. It really is. And it, you know, it's like, okay, if you want to do that, it's a personal choice, but to push a toxic medication on someone else and guilt them for not doing it is just wrong.
Yeah, people do that too. People shame people for going on Accutane and they shame it for going on it. We don't even want to play the shame game because it's just a losing game. It's like a race to the bottom. So we just educate people. Like, here's what could be causing it. Like, there's a time and a place to consider Accutane. Sure. Like, even at my clinic, people come to me after Accutane hasn't worked, or they don't want to do it, or their system's already fragile and they know it's going to really hurt them, or something like that, right? There's a mom who's like, yeah, my kid's 13. I'm not going to just put him on Accutane. Like, let's get the diet straightened out, you know? So, but then there's cases too where it's like, okay, someone is already kind of on it and I just help them do it in the least toxic way while we get to the root cause. So we just want to be a source of education and support for people that are going through acne. And, you know, if someone wants to do Accutane after they feel like they've exhausted all possibilities, we'll never shame them. Like, literally, I did it 3 times. Like, I get it. By the time you've come to that point, you are so desperate, you don't even care.
Yeah.
So, like, we totally understand the psychological impact of acne, and we just want to help people in any way we can.
That's so true. That's so true. And something you said that stuck out was about taking Accutane and having a fragile system already. One of the things that I've started to realize now as an adult, when I took it as a teenager, is how you have to be on 2 forms of birth control, and you also have to have your liver levels checked every month.
Yeah.
So I know one of the big things you guys do in education is talk about like digestion and how all of these things have a part in acne. So there's the genetic part, but then how can we help manage our acne or get rid of it through food, digestion, looking at all of these systems internally rather than just topically?
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that because it's funny how people are still learning how the body is so connected and everything affects everything. Yet we look at a car and we know it's connected. It's like if the engine's out, the car won't start, the brakes aren't working. We know it's so interconnected, but somehow there's a disconnected people understanding of what they eat and the massive effects it has on so many different systems in your body. Like when you're eating a lot of inflammatory foods and high sugar and seed oils and foods that are really hard to digest and, you know, synthetic meats, you're bogging down your digestive system, your gut health, your liver, your kidneys, everything, and then things can't fluidly work. So as it relates to acne, things that you eat do have a massive impact because like Danielle was mentioning before, inflammation is a big one. If people are eating a lot of synthetic meat products, you're consuming a ton of soy, which is also increasing your estrogen, causing hormonal imbalances. When you're eating seed oils, you're causing a massive inflammatory effect, which is really bogging down your liver, and your liver is in charge of filtering out excess hormones that don't belong. So when your liver is really bogged down from inflammatory foods, high amounts of sugar, synthetic food products, and your liver is focused on what's the worst, right? So it's going to focus on that first, and then your hormones and detoxifying your body is going to be last. So it's not even going to get to that. So you have this toxic overload, you have an inability to correctly digest hormones in your body, and your body is so focused on getting rid of all this food that's either inflammatory or synthetic that it doesn't recognize that, again, your body's just so sluggish, it can't even work on healing. So acne is the last thing that your body can focus on.
So what are the top foods, seed oils, top things in general that people can start cutting out right now to help their liver properly start working?
Well, let's start with the first one as it relates to acne, because of course seed oils are linked to acne and very inflammatory, but some of the biggest triggers for people who are acne prone specifically, the first one is going to be dairy. That is the number one dietary trigger. It has growth hormones in it, so it's going to cause a lot of breakouts. I know everyone can't see me, but it's kind of around where you'd have a goatee in your jawline. Right around this area is where you're going to see the big breakouts from dairy. So if someone is exhausted, right? A lot of the people we're talking to that are struggling with acne, it can be challenging to remove absolutely everything because they're like, oh, I've been trying everything. I'm exhausted. I don't know what to do. So we like to give it one step at a time for people. And the first thing we have them remove is dairy.
That makes sense. That's my resolution for 2023. Absolutely zero dairy. It's so good though. But then see, my other part of my mind, I haven't had any, but the other part of my mind is like the dairy alternatives that they give you. Like if you're going to get an alternative cheese or something, don't they have a whole bunch of just junk in there? So is it better
They
to just not
can.
even?
My recommendation is just to not eat it. Like you don't, I feel like we've convinced ourselves that we need dairy, and because we're so used to like putting it on sandwiches, putting it on like adding it on top of everything like it's a condiment. In reality, when you remove it for about a month, that you don't even notice that you need it anymore. Cheese has such addictive properties in it that it does make you feel like you need it. So I promise you, once you start removing it, and don't even worry about alternatives, like just remove it and just ask for things without the cheese on top, or replace the milk that you're using. You'd be surprised after about 30 days, you don't even notice it anymore.
Mm, yeah. And you know what? Speaking of the replacements, that almond milk you guys sent, like in that concentrate,
Yeah, the joy.
that literally is amazing. I just put it in my magic bullet and then I use it for whatever I'm doing. Like I made overnight oats with it and I'm like, this is literally the best. And it's not full of all that extra gum and crap that they put into all of these things. I was like, I'm buying this when that runs out.
Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, we were so excited to find them because it's funny whenever we send out really fun boxes to, our favorite people, and we look with other brands to partner with, we're so particular about the brands we'll partner with to send out. And we had looked for so long for a mini version of like a nut milk to be able to send out to everyone that was free of all like the gums and all the stuff in it. And it was near impossible. And then we came across Joy and we're like, this is amazing. This is like ClearStem values in a milk, so that we could send out to everyone.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. So earlier you guys were talking about eating with the seasons. What do you guys think about cycle syncing with acne, eating, just living life in general as a woman?
Cycle syncing as far as like seed cycling, eating syncing with the time of the month, in
Time of
what,
the month.
sorry, time as far, so is eating for time of the month?
Yeah. And for like, is there anything you should be like working out? I've just seen so many things
Yeah,
about
I
working out with your period.
it's really cool. So, as women, our bodies go through 4 different cycles during a month, and they are different at every point. So, our digestive system will shut down during certain times of the month and then be alive and thriving during other times of the month. I'm not an expert on this because I always have to look it up. But so I will. I'm just going to preface it, but I have to like look up. I'm like, okay, luteal phase. Like I'm just double checking, right?
Yes.
But I'm pretty sure if I have this right, and again, you can just look it up, but leading up to, so right before your period and during your period is when your digestive system shuts down more. And so that's when you'll get a lot more bloated. It's like, oh, it's so weird. I can eat this ice cream or food or whatever this time of month, but then when I'm around my period, I get like super bloated and I don't feel well, all this stuff. It's because all of our blood flow is going to other areas of the body and it's not as flowing in the digestive tract. So during the period, you do have to, if you want to feel really good, eat a little differently. So you want to eat a little bit lighter foods, easier to digest foods, soluble fibers, things like that. And then around ovulation, your body is thriving. You can like eat a burger and fries and all different things and like not feel so bad because your digestive system is flowing. So that is something to note for people if they're getting really frustrated with bloating and digestive issues, that it really does change during certain times of the month. And it's same with workouts. During ovulation, we can handle some more of those like HIIT workouts, cardio workouts. We have a lot more energy and muscle building. And then leading up to our period and during our period, again, our body is working really hard in other areas. And so, and muscle building is not the same and energy levels are not the same. So walks, Pilates, hot yoga, detoxifying workouts are going to be a lot more supportive to our body during those times.
Wow. Okay. This is good. I feel like I need to go into a deep rabbit hole
It's
about like,
fun. And again, I'm the same way as you. Like when I was first learning about all the cycling with eating and working out, I was like overwhelmed. I needed a visual. And then I just pulled up a visual of like the phases and what your body is going through, an ideal foods to eat during the time, or like what your digestive system's going through. I'm like, oh, okay, this is easier.
gotcha. I have a question for you guys about the red light. So I have heard so many good things about red lighting. So I reached out to this brand and I was like, hey, can I have a red light and I'll do like a week-long thing? And they're like, absolutely, of course, and we'll give you a code, whatever. So I did it, and for a week, I was like, my pigmentation, I felt like was so much better. And then so people were asking me on my TikTok, they're like, what is red lighting? And I'm like, I don't really know how to explain it. So could you guys explain what red lighting is and how it benefits your skin?
Definitely. So red lighting is a certain type of light with a certain wavelength. And what that wavelength does is think of it as stimulating your own healing response. So red light specifically helps with circulation, which activates your own wound healing response, which is amazing for acne, for aging, for pretty much any skin condition, right? Your own circulation stimulated in such a way where it just activates your own wound healing in your skin. So think of it that way. And then it also helps with inflammation. So you can actually, like, say your skin's really inflamed, you're broken out, it's really red, it's angry, maybe you picked at it, whatever, and you can red light. Like, we use the Derma Beam, actually. I really like that one. It will just calm everything down, and it allows for better penetration of what is on your skin topically. So you want to red light with like a calming hyaluronic based serum. Like, our Cell Renew serum is hyaluronic base, that it has green tea, saw palmetto, reishi, and B5. So it's all anti-inflammatory humectant properties. So if you red light on just bare skin, it's going to help. But if you do it with an actual serum that has good ingredients, it's going to help that drive into your skin deeper and help your skin use those ingredients. So it's great for pretty much any skin concern. And then there's blue light. Blue light kills bacteria, and it can be very drying. In fact, I actually recommend that. So blue light's great, and you can even do purple, which is a mix of the two. So that's fantastic too. But if you're going to do blue light, I actually put like a sunscreen barrier on my lips because I don't want the blue on it because it can dry out your lips. So just, they're very different, right? So red is like good all the time. Blue is great for acne. I just wouldn't overdo the blue because it can dry your skin out.
That makes so much sense. And I didn't realize there was a purple light, but I had a company reach out to me and they have this like mask thing and they said there's like 11 different light colors on there. I'm like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, there's orange, there's green, I think there's like a pink one. One of them's like for brightening. Yeah, there's a lot of smaller indications for all of them, but I think red light is good for everyone.
That kind of blows my mind that just putting a light near your face can help your skin like crazy. So one thing you talk about a lot is pore cloggers. And I know that's at the heartbeat of your brand, is that none of your products have pore cloggers in them.
Right.
What happened that got you guys to be so focused on pore cloggers and create your brand around not having any of those?
Because it's critical. It is critical. Like, we all have the experience of a product breaking us out. And that's because most of the filler agents that companies use are cheap, thick. They take up a lot of space in the bottle, right? So they're inexpensive, they're thick, they have a long shelf life, and it basically is just usually derivatives of palm or coconut oil at the end of the day, because those are really cheaply produced. So the issue with most cosmetics is about 90% of them, if not, I would say at least 90%, probably closer to like 92, 93%, have some sort of pore clogging ingredient in it, because companies, especially if they're like big publicly traded companies, like say a L'Oreal or a Revlon or whatever, their first obligation is to increase profits for their shareholders. So they do that by continually decreasing the cost of their goods and extending the shelf life. And there's only a few filler agents that fit that criteria, and it'll be things like isopropyl palmitate or isopropyl myristate or glycerol stearate SE, like random things that the consumer would never ever know about, and that even dermatologists don't know about. They don't talk about this in medical school at all. This is literally the nitty-gritty of the cosmetic space. So that's why dermatologists never talk to people about this, and they wouldn't even know the list if it came across them, on their desk. They're just not taught it. So that's why they resort to medication. That's the only thing they have to work with. So that's another rant. But pore clogging ingredients will physically clog your pore. And if you have that extra keratin protein that people with acne tend to have, it creates a plug. It clogs the pore. Those filler agents, why they're so pore clogging, is because they're so much thicker than our natural oil that you can't sweat them out. You can't sweat out coconut oil. It's solid at room temperature. It's like a wax. It's far thicker than your natural oil. So it clogs your pore, and then your skin just kind of grows on top of it, buries it. All of a sudden, that's a cyst, and the actual infection is in the hair follicle down below the skin. And topical products have a hard time even getting to it, right? So that's why acne is just like, it can stay for months. It can take a month to even form. It can just stay forever. Like, I've pulled out extractions from people that have been in their skin for like 6 months before.
Oh
It's
my
crazy.
God.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And especially if it's like in your cheeks, like it can be like a 1/4 inch down almost, you know what I mean? So topical products have a hard time even getting to it. That's why exfoliation is important, but we can talk about that later. But basically, you can be living the healthiest lifestyle ever. You can be doing everything right internally, and you're still using quote clean or organic products that are loaded with shea butter or coconut oil, and it's still clogging you up externally and giving you acne. So that's why it is critical. And because it's so rampant in the cosmetic space, I mean, if you're a woman, you have a sunscreen, you have a lotion, you got a makeup, you have probably at least those 3 things, and then a few others in your routine too. You got a bronzer, you got a primer, you got, other stuff there, right?
Mm-hmm.
At least like half of your stuff is going to have pore cloggers in it. So you can do everything right. Think of acne as like following directions somewhere. If it's like, get on this freeway, make a right turn here, make a left turn there, here. If you're missing one of those steps, you're not going to get to your destination. And pore
Wow.
cloggers is often the missing step for people. And that's why we harp on it. Because you could be doing everything right, but if there's still a pore clogger in your sunscreen, you will still break out.
Yeah, I love your guys' sunscreens. They're literally the best. Like the cream of the crop. I'm gonna link all the stuff that I recommend from them below this podcast. But do you have any makeup recommendations that brands that like don't have pore cloggers in them? Because I'm having a hard time.
Yeah. So the brand that will always be safe and is the absolute best, I always go back to it, is called Pria. It's Priia.
Okay.
It's not as well known as it should be because it's so niche,
And we're
but it's the
obsessed.
best. Acne specialists who know their stuff, they carry Pria. There's like an acne specialist certification from a company called Face Reality, which is also a great company, by the way. And the practitioners who are acne specialists with that designation, they all know about Pria, and that's the one we all swear by. Like, their concealer is so good, you could put it on a blemish and it helps it go down. So it's actually doing you favors.
Okay. I'm gonna look into that after this. I need a haul.
Yeah,
It's
just get
so
trials on the
amazing. Yeah.
website. Just get trials, wear it all around for a week with the different formulas. Find your best one. It's not as easy as going to CVS and picking something out because it's not that widely known yet, but it is the best by far.
Awesome. Okay, so second to last question. I have a lot of people on my social that struggle with picking. I feel like I'm a person who has self-diagnosed dermatillomania. Like I'm starting to be aware of how much I look in the mirror and just go like at my acne. But do you have any tips for people like me or some of the people in my audience who have a problem with picking? Like, what can we do to stop?
Yeah. So I used to have this insane problem too. Like the littlest thing to like I would try to get at the cyst, which is the worst thing you
It's
could ever do.
impossible.
It's impossible. It is because when you try to pick at a cyst, like you can never get it. It ends up turning into a scab that will last like almost a month, if not longer, and you end up just ripping apart your face. So the two things that helped me the absolute most with not picking and what we recommend to people, the first one is ice packing. So that's the best thing you can do to take down inflammation. Because a lot of people will be picking, so just be staring at their skin, or they'll be getting ready to leave the house for the day, and they're like, oh, I have to get rid of this before I put my makeup on, which is also not a good idea because then you're like opening up wounds and then putting poor clay ingredient makeup on. But ice packing it will help take down that redness and inflammation and help flatten it more. So that's really helpful. And you know how like you feel that heat, feel the heat from the cystic acne, that ice packing will really help with that. So again, help flatten it, take down the inflammation, calm down all the redness. The second thing, which has been a game changer for me over the last year or so, we have a tool on our website called the Diamond Buff. And now when I have a little bit of a breakout, instead of picking, I use this buff tool and I just buff it really lightly. Again, with acne, we've been so trained in the past to be so mean to our skin. And so I want to be so clear when I say be gentle with acne, and like scrubbing, like we're huge proponents of exfoliation, but you don't want to rip apart your face. You want to be gentle with it. So the Diamond Buff tool, you want to lightly buff it out. Kid you not, that flattens it out. It also gets rid of the excess skin on top. So if you do have a breakout that's really close to the surface, you can buff it and then barely touch it and it just comes out. it comes out so easily, and it'll just flatten that area. And then if you like really want to amplify it, you can buff it a tiny bit and then use the Clarity serum so it can get in there a little bit deeper. So there's different ways you can use the tool for at-home treatments, but that is the key to not picking. So it'll give you a little bit of results that like you mentally want from the picking without all the negative side effects of picking.
I love that because you're giving like a hall pass. Like you can pick a little bit with this tool, like just a little bit.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Well, it gives you the
amazing.
satisfaction of doing something, but it's productive instead of destructive. So
I love
yeah,
that.
that urge though, by the way, for people that have a really intense urge, they usually only last about 7 seconds. So if you can just, well, turn down the lights in your bathroom, first of all. I used to have this bathroom with like 5 bulbs. I was down to 1 bulb. I like immediately went and like unscrewed 4 of them, right? So keep the lights down so you're not artificially seeing something, and get rid of the magnifying mirrors for sure. But if the 7 second thing, if you can just like hold, like just take a deep breath and count backwards from 7, you can kind of like regain and like fall out of the urge a little bit. And then, you know, if you can just like walk out of the bathroom and go do something else, I mean, that's ideal. But eventually, you know, if you're stressed out about something else, that urge is going to be really, really strong. And just, if you're going to do it, try to do it properly and then ice pack immediately after.
Okay, that's amazing. That's so helpful though, because I know there's so many people who are like, I want to stop, but I just feel like I physically can't. And you guys gave tangible tips of like what you can actually do to help scratch that itch or that pimple. Literally. Okay, so last question for you guys. I want to know each of your top 3 ClearStem products that people should try first and foremost.
Ooh, okay, I'll go first. Our Mind Body Skin hormonal acne supplement is the biggest game changer out there. So whenever I have a patient at San Diego Acne Clinic who I know has something going on internally, I have a few very talented blood work people that I send them to, and people generally come back with the same issues over and over and over. Has to do with digestion, liver function, possibly too much testosterone or too many swings, and just overall too much oil sometimes. So basically, Mind Body Skin has a very specific blend of ingredients that help to address all of the concerns that people generally have problems with. And we positioned it to be a natural alternative to Accutane, antibiotics, spironolactone for people that just don't want to do that route. And it actually trains the body to be healthier with these systems that can impact acne. So that's by far the number one. The second one is going to be the biggest change maker is Clarity. It's nicknamed our blackhead dissolver, but that's what physically goes down into the pore and dissolves the pore cloggers and dissolves the extra keratin protein. It's a necessary thing if you're going to get clear. Like it's absolutely necessary because that's the biggest corrective. The other one is our moisturizer called Hydroglow. It's our cult favorite. Yeah, you love it. It's rich, it's luxurious, but it's designed to be acne safe. And it's so important because most people's moisturizers are pore clogging. Like that's a product that almost always has a pore clogger. So switching out what's causing the problem for something that is good is key. And then adding a change maker like Clarity, also key. And then Mind Body Skin for the internal side of acne. And those 3 things are going to change your skin.
Love. What about you, Kayleigh?
So since mine are like literally the same as Danielle's because they're such change makers, I'm going to take a different position because I've been in Colorado for the last week visiting family and skiing. And so I'm right now I'm talking to people in those like cold weather, dry climates where, you know, if you're outside skiing or maybe you're just outside shoveling your driveway or anything, and you know, it's that wind chill, that cold weather is just ripping apart your skin and ripping apart your skin barrier. So my 3 favorite products that I have been bathing in for the last week here in Colorado, the Gentle Clean face wash. Oh my gosh, because so many face washes are really stripping to the skin and actually destroy your skin barrier or leave it feeling like really tight and dry. Gentle Clean is an amazing hydrating moisturizer. Hydrating face wash. So Gentle Clean. And then I've been cocktailing together our Cell Renew and Bounce Back. Cell Renew is a little more hydrating than Bounce Back, but Bounce Back has the amazing strong anti-aging properties. So cocktailing those together and then drowning my skin in our Hydra Berry face mask. It is amazing if anyone is struggling with dry skin. I've been like loading it on at night and in the morning because it's so dry here and so cold. So Hydra Berry just will really help restore your skin barrier, especially during those winter months.
Ooh, I use the Hydroberry at night and like slug with it. I put it on and it has like, it feels
Yes.
cool when you put it on. I love that feeling.
It's so, oh my gosh, it feels so good.
Oh my
I put a
God.
nice thick layer on.
Yes. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast. I mean, you covered everything, and I feel like people listening to this have a really good place to start. So, where can people connect with you guys on social media, website, wherever?
So you can head to all of our social channels, are at ClearStem Skincare. We do a ton of education, reels, infographics, really savable material so you can learn. And then on our website, of course, we're so driven by education. So you can shop all of our products on our website, but also learn more. So we have our pore clogging ingredients checker where you can check all your current skincare, hair care, makeup products on there. And we also have our skincare learning center, which is our blog where we talk a lot about the root causes of acne and how to find yours.
Yeah, and we do master classes too, so people can sign up for our email list and get a free master class. We do those like every other month, or
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I'm gonna have to sign up for the next one.
they're fun. They're a lot of fun. I mean,
Yes, we'd love
we've
to
had
have
like
you.
700 signups before. Like it becomes a party.
Yes, that's amazing. That's what we need. But everything will be linked below. I'm also going to link their personal Instagram so you guys can get to know them as human beings because they're freaking amazing. They're so kind and sweet. And I just absolutely love you guys. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It literally means the world to me. I'm a little starstruck.
Thank you. Oh, we're truly so honored to be here. We absolutely adore you. Thank you.